This is an important international development involving global security and counterterrorism efforts. On Christmas Day, the United States carried out airstrikes against ISIS-linked militants in northwestern Nigeria. The operation was publicly confirmed by former U.S. President Donald Trump, who described the strikes as powerful and deadly. According to Trump, the targets were ISIS fighters accused of carrying out violent attacks against Christian communities in the region. The announcement immediately drew global attention, raising questions about ISIS activity in Africa, U.S. military involvement on the continent, and the broader fight against international terrorism. ISIS and its presence in Nigeria. Although ISIS is often associated with the Middle East, the group has expanded its influence into several regions, including Africa. In Nigeria, ISIS operates mainly through a faction known as the Islamic State. West Africa Province, or ISWAP. This group emerged from splinter factions connected to Boko Haram, one of the most violent extremist organizations in the world. Over the years, ISWAP has been responsible for attacks on military bases, kidnappings, and assaults on civilian populations. Northern and northwestern Nigeria have been particularly affected. Villages in these regions have faced repeated raids, leaving thousands of people displaced and living in constant fear. Why the U.S. took action? The United States considers the spread of ISIS in Africa a serious national and international security concern. U.S. officials have warned that extremist groups operating in ungoverned or weakly governed regions can pose long-term threats far beyond their immediate surroundings. According to Trump's statement, intelligence reports indicated that ISIS militants in Nigeria were targeting Christian communities. This claim added a religious dimension to the operation, drawing strong reactions from both supporters and critics. The timing of the airstrikes on Christmas Day also carried symbolic weight. Supporters say it sent a clear message that the U.S. remains committed to counterterrorism efforts at all times, regardless of holidays. Details of the airstrikes. Many operational details remain classified. However, reports indicate that the airstrikes were precision-based, focusing on specific ISIS locations rather than broad areas. The targets are believed to have included militant camps, weapons storage sites, command and coordination centers. U.S. military operations in Africa are often conducted using advanced surveillance and intelligence, sometimes in coordination with regional partners. Nigeria has worked with the United States for years on counterterrorism, particularly in intelligence sharing and military training. Officials emphasize that the objective of such strikes is disruption, weakening extremist networks, rather than occupying territory. Trump's statement and political context. Human rights organizations have repeatedly warned about the vulnerability of religious minorities in conflict zones. At the same time, experts caution that the violence in Nigeria is driven by multiple factors, including poverty, political instability, and weak local governance. While religion is often used as a justification by extremists, analysts stress that the conflict cannot be understood through religion alone. Regional and international reactions. Reactions to the airstrikes have been mixed. Some security analysts and political figures praise the operation, arguing that it demonstrates strong leadership and commitment to global security. Others expressed concern about the long-term effectiveness of airstrikes and the risk of civilian harm. Human rights groups have called for transparency and careful monitoring of the situation on the ground. African nations facing similar threats are closely watching the developments, as extremist groups often operate across borders. Do airstrikes solve the problem? This remains one of the biggest questions. Airstrikes can disrupt terrorist networks, eliminate leaders, and delay planned attacks. However, history shows that extremist groups often adapt and regroup. Security experts argue that long-term success requires more than military force. Education, economic development, community engagement, and strong governance are all seen as critical components in preventing radicalization. Without addressing these root causes, military victories may only be temporary. What this means going forward. For the United States, the operation signals continued involvement in global counterterrorism, even as attention shifts between regions. For Nigeria, it highlights both the severity of the extremist threat and the importance of international cooperation. For the world, it serves as a reminder that terrorism remains a global issue, with consequences that cross borders and continents. Conclusion. The U.S. airstrikes on ISIS targets in Nigeria mark a significant moment in the ongoing fight against international terrorism. While the immediate impact of the operation may disrupt extremist activities, the long-term outcome will depend on broader efforts to stabilize the region and protect civilian populations. As more information becomes available, this story is expected to continue developing. News sign-off. We will continue to follow this story closely and bring you updates as they emerge. Stay with us for more international news and in-depth analysis.